Hey guys, Rob Murphy from Holistic Healing Choices here. Now it has been a week now that I've got back, but on the journey of a lifetime, ticking something off my bucket list. That is the Kokoda Trail. This came about a while ago. So last year, about September, I think, there was an information session about it, and I've always wanted to do it. It's always been a challenge, and I've had past family members that were actually on the trail during the World War. So if you don't know, it was a big campaign for Australia in the Second World War. The Japanese invaded from the north while we were pushing up from the south. And it was this constant give and take, retreating, hostile environment, hostile forces. A lot of the time it ended up in hand-to-hand sort of distance combat because the jungle's so dense and just such an inhospitable place for battle. And the path that they took through the villages, utilising the help of the villages the Australians did as well as the Japanese, but the Japanese were pretty brutal to them. So if you want to research that more, that's up to you. It's not going to fit in this video, but it was the adventure of a lifetime for me. So I was originally planning to do videos of myself training, walking around out in the nature, those sort of videos, the hiking side of things, but for whatever reason just didn't get there. And then tragedy struck with my foot. Turns out I have an extra bone in my right foot, and for 3 days around Easter, which was shortly before we took off, like 3 or 4 weeks before we actually flew out of the country, I couldn't walk. So a whole bunch of stuff, but it ended up over there. Then when we got to Sydney, fly out the night before. First our hotel room wasn't ready. And this is a big chain one. I think it was a pretty chaotic scene in there though, so we had to wait, we had dinner. My wife and I, she dropped me down there, so very much thankful for her. Then we got to our room, pretty much just went straight to bed. Yep, because we had to be up fairly early. Then I got up to go to the bathroom during the night, had a look at my phone and missed calls, messages and all sorts of stuff. Our flight had actually been cancelled. So we were going from Sydney to Port Moresby. That flight had been cancelled. So could we get to the airport even earlier? So, whatever. Rolling with it. We got there. Eventually we got a flight with Qantas and straight to Port Moresby. A little bit earlier than expected than the original time we were supposed to land. So that was even better. Then, once we got there, got our room keys at the Hilton. Our room key didn't work. So it was just a series of things to sort of just get out of the way beforehand. Little inconveniences. So our room key didn't work because we shared a room. They book you in a double room, like with 2 beds in a room for you and someone else because it's cheaper for them that way. Each time we'd leave one person in the room and go down and try and sort it out, and they come up and fiddle around with it, and eventually that just didn't work. We're only over there overnight, so but fantastic meal that we had there. It's a pretty luxurious place in a place that's not very luxurious itself in Port Moresby there. Then the morning of, up early again and out to get a flight over to Popondetta. So over the actual trail itself to a place far north. From there it was a 3-hour-ish little bus truck ride. They put us in the back of a cattle truck sort of looking thing, which, having a military background, I'm used to with the Unimogs and things like that, those people movers. This one had cushions though, so you can't critique it too much. But after that too, we actually got to Kokoda. And that's where it all started to hit. So during this too, you may see photos of other people. I'm not really going to mention them all. Just be aware that there are other people on this trip for their own personal reasons and stuff, and the porters and everything else as well. Not going to mention any other names other than probably Craig Harvey, who was our trek leader and the person organising it all and getting everybody all together in the first place. So from Kokoda we were able to see the museum and do a whole bunch of other things, and something here that I loved was, so we had a vegan girl joining us on the trip. So for lunch we had, I think it was tomato, ham and cheese sandwiches. So you could grab a sandwich each, meet your porter and finalise all your kit, fill your water, do what you need to do before we stepped off. For her lunch, they actually just gave her 4 slices of bread. Just 4 slices of bread. So it's a real otherworldly sort of experience. They don't have that over there. You eat what you're given, what you've got. It's a real survival sort of thing still over there. As you can see with some of the photos as well, the villages are very basic. They still don't have electricity. They still don't have a lot of plumbing, running water, that type of thing. You know, they'll just go off into the bush and do their business, and that's how they live. And you know what? They're pretty happy as well. It's a real juxtaposition as to how much we actually have. These people will never drive a car. You know, these people will never really own a big 4-wall sort of house. They've got their huts and they're happy. They have to pretty well go out, forage, fight for everything that they do, and they're happier. There's a lot more danger in their lives. They're very resourceful with that as well. So it's something there too that, you know, looking at the culture, they're a happy type of people. They're strong as all hell. And, you know, they're pretty happy, even though they don't have all of the other luxuries and all these things that we have. Sure, they have mobile phones, probably not the best type of mobile phones, like the latest, greatest, whatever. So it's something to be said there as well. Like, it's pretty fantastic to see them thriving in this environment. I absolutely loved watching them and their resourcefulness and just how they move around the jungle and the track, because it's something to behold. Like, you know, they can run up these hills that are slippery, slidey, muddy, all sorts of stuff. So it's a real eye-opener too. The more things that we have, is it the more things that we have to worry about? Is it that we've created all of this stress for ourselves? But getting out of the mental aspects of it, it is challenging. The course, the track is challenging. I didn't find it as bad. I found a crew that I could just sit behind and actually enjoy the time as well. So I'd stop, have a look around, because it's gorgeous. Everywhere's lush, green, wonderful, gorgeous. And the amount of history that's there as well. So you will see weapon caches, you will see old trenches and everything that's still there. They're still trying to preserve all of that, as well as many other landmarks and significant parts for the battle. And we had our Anzac Day service. So Anzac Day is maybe like Independence Day, where we remember our fallen soldiers, much like Remembrance Day that we have as well. Normally it's a very big day of celebration back here in Australia. Like, you go out, it's one day of the year you're allowed to play 2 up at pubs, which is a gambling game where you throw 2 or 3 coins and you bet against another person, whether it's heads or tails. It's the only way and the only day that we're allowed to play. And lots of drinking normally occurs as well. A service that we had on Anzac Day at Brigade Hill, which is the scene of Australia's bloodiest battle, was, I don't think there was a dry eye in the house. And so there was our group, and then 2 other little tour groups of ex-soldiers as well, or probably some are still serving. It was very emotional, and just the whole feeling of the place as well. It was something to behold in such a beautiful way to start the day as well. Now, other things that can happen on there as well. There was one time that we had to, pull up short of where we were supposed to go because of rain, and we had river crossings that day. So the rain actually rose the river. It can rain. It wasn't cold. The temperature is fairly warm, but it doesn't seem as humid as other places like Bali or Thailand that I've been to, or even Malaysia as well. So you will sweat. Most days you're covered in sweat or you're wet with rain, whatever. So it's just something to get used to. But it's not as humid. You still will have to drink a fair amount of water because you are exerting a fair bit of physical effort. And the waters, they fill them up from streams, and the company, Australia Kokoda Tours, actually give you, to share between 2 people, a SteriPen. So good for a litre of water, just a UV little bulb thing, and 90 seconds later your water's sterilised. And, it did seem to work pretty well. I don't think anybody actually ever got any gastro or intestinal issues. So, excellent. If I fill my camel back up with the 3 litres, just straight out of that, like 3 or 2 litres or whatever, I'd pop in some steri tabs. For that, leave it overnight, normally when I got to camp. Otherwise, I'd have to fill the bottle, pour it in, fill it, pour it after sterilising it each time. During it, you do get breaks, at regular breaks as well, just to sort of catch your breath, get that group to sort of close back up. So it is a tour. And it is like the history of it as well. If you've got any sort of interest in the history of it, absolutely 100% go. Do the training, get on a tour. We went from north to south. There are a lot of companies that went from south to north. It just depends on where you want to go. I feel that north to south is probably better because there's no Japanese memorials, hardly any whatsoever, because the Japanese, because they lost this campaign, they didn't want anything to do with it. So going from north to south, you get to see their advance, where the Australians pushed back, where they retreated to, and everything else as well. And then you finish at the Australian or the war cemetery afterwards. Builds sort of a better story. You get to see where the Australians really started to turn the tide of the war as well. A fantastic experience, and I cannot stress that enough. If you've got any interest in it, do it. Go, train, and you will need to train. We did have some people who were a bit slower who probably didn't train as much as they should have. But if you've got 2 working legs and you've got an interest in it as well, I would say do it. Other things that happen as well. So we can, there's me little dude. So this is absolutely fine. It's smoke treated to bring back into the country as well. Your porter will do a little bit of a carving for you. I'm just holding his name there. And it's absolutely wonderful. As you get to certain places as well, you can still buy like a can of Coke, some twisties, pineapple Fanta, which is fantastic as well. So you're not like completely separated or remote from anything as well, but in your porter, they're there to carry some of your excess stuff that you won't need during the day. I gave them like more or less my sleeping kit. Like that was mostly it. Cold weather clothes and stuff that I wouldn't need on the track. And they're there to sort of keep you safe. Numerous times might have come up to me and say, oh, go down this way. Go down this way. Like try this path rather than... Because you've got little paths that you can sort of take. So he was helping me select the easiest path and helping guide me a little bit as well, getting me to walk through the jungle. Because tree roots, rocks aren't going to be your friends, they're going to be slippery. So you don't want to slip over and hurt yourself and then have to be medevaced out. Because yeah, the only way out once you start is by a helicopter. So just keep that in mind as well. You want to take your first aid stuff, you wanted to take health-wise, it's not the greatest retreat. I was on some anti-inflammatories for my foot issues as well. So some like gel that I apply as well as like tablets because it did start to play up a little bit. So I wanted none of that. So I took precautions. And yeah, your steri tabs are basically chlorine and salt. So you do ingest a healthy dose of chlorine. And your diet's going to be a little bit out there. You want things that give you energy, so sugars, protein bars. I took the chief stuff over there, the protein bars, as well as like their beef bars and biltong. Fantastic. Can't recommend that enough for that salty food that you want over there. Your meals are probably going to be, for lunch we had noodles, cheese, salami, were the main staples. The boys would sometimes do some other things for us as well. They get some canned soup and then put it into more or less like a dim sim sort of style fried bread. Your breakfast is normally going to be cereal, coffee, tea, and then dinner, rice and some sort of curry or whatever they can get airdropped in as well. So there was one night we actually had like a steak mash thing that was wonderful. It was beautiful with rice. And one day, like we did have a birthday on the track and they made a little birthday cake for this person as well. So they are capable. They're very, very capable, but it is, not going to be 5-star cuisine, but it's perfectly serviceable and it's just food to give you energy as well. Other than that, yeah, you got showers. The toilets are all long drops. You do have showers though at every camp, more or less. They do have like some sort of plumbing and they're cold. there's no hot water, there's no gas, there's no electricity, so cold water, but given the heat over there, you're probably going to be okay with that. You come through the other side, you come through those arches, and the sense of accomplishment that you get, because it is still a hard slog up, out, coming out the south side to Owen's Corner, you're going to feel pretty impressed with yourself as well, that you could do this for the 8 days. And it was a great feeling. I met some fantastic people as well during it, so highly recommended. Now, I can only give AKT tours. It was an expensive tour, about 6,000, plus then you have to buy all the gear if you don't have it already. So your backpack, your boots are going to be your main expenses, camelbacks if you don't have those, hiking gear that you're going to move and feel comfortable with. But I mean, I just took a pair of sports shorts that are nice, flexible, hard wearing sort of things. And that did me fine for a very few days. And then too, you can give anything you don't want to your porter. They're probably more than happy going to accept it. Even if they don't use it, they'll take it back to their village or trade it off or whatever else as well. So if you overpack, you can get rid of stuff. But it just depends on how attached you are to that stuff. And then, yeah, the final day we got to the Hilton, had a bit of a dinner, had a few drinks, and then it was back off to the airport pretty early breakfast again, and back home. So all up, fantastic experience. Loved it. Would I do it again? Only if someone else wanted to go. So if Amy wanted to go, or someone else I knew wanted to go and do it as well, I think, yeah, I would 100% do it again. But just me and myself, and it's ticked off the bucket list. I had the full experience. We got the full weather gauntlet as well. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. And just given the time and the preparation and everything else as well, it can be a little bit of a hard thing to do while maintaining a business. But to put all that in perspective, it was something I really wanted to do, and I just went out and did it. But yeah, if you have any questions or anything else as well, guys, please go to AKT's website, AustralianKokodaTours.com.au, and check their stuff out. They do a blog too while you're on the trail, so your family can keep in touch, and you can send little messages at the bottom of that for your family to read, because you won't have any cell phone reception. That's another important thing too. It was great to detox off your phone. You're there, you have to talk to, well, you don't have to, but you're talking to other people, you're just in the moment, in nature. Wonderful experience. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Plenty of photos. It did take 8 days for us to walk from one side to the other. I don't know much else without spoiling the whole thing that I can say. Anyway, I'm Rob Murphy. Please remember to like, share, comment, subscribe on this video, and I'll see you in the next video.